that players are chasing like this perfect school that just checks every single box. And I really like what you said about how, it may seem like a compromise, but maybe in the end, it's like the thing you love most about that college when you actually experience it. And sadly, I see this kind of like trickling into the ID camps where players will go to these schools that they see as perfect and checking all the boxes. And then in the end, they just end up wasting so much time going to these ID camps and chasing schools, and these schools don't want them. And then they leave the ID camp and they get no feedback or follow up from the coach. And then they're just sitting there waiting. Oh, well, do they want me or do they not? And it's like, well, if they haven't said anything to you after the camp, then that's probably a no. So can we talk about that? Because I think a lot of players are being like not intentionally led on by colleges, but they're just not being upfront with them. And I don't think players are being upfront with coaches and just asking, hey, do you want me? Am I a fit? And it's just a waste of time.
Well, let's be honest. If we're and let's be fair to some of the colleges too. If you're Stanford, you've had 3,000 kids at your camp. There's no way that a coaching staff can sit down with 3,000 kids and tell them, we want you, we don't want you, this is what you're missing, because parents are expecting for their $250 or their, maybe it's a week long camp, maybe it's $750, but they are expecting complete feedback and honesty from the coaching staff on each individual. And um, as you just said, no is an answer. It's not the answer you want. And ignoring a player is an answer. It is basically no. At least for myself, and I can't speak for every coach in the country, but if I saw a player at my camp, and every once in a while, every 3 years, this would happen, a player I had never seen, never heard about, shows up to my camp. And I go, holy crud, this kid could start for us right now. This kid could play for us right now. This kid could help us right now. That kid was not walking away from that camp if they were of a legal recruitable age without us pulling that kid aside. And we'd usually pull him over for lunch with us and we'd sit down and talk to him. What are your plans? Why are you here? What are you thinking? What other offers do you have? We're just trying to dig and find out how serious they are about us, as well as how serious their parents might think, what conversations their families have had around what they're looking for in a school. And uh, eventually the question comes, what would it take for you to come play for us? What are you looking for? Uh, and until that conversation happens, then they're not recruiting you. And even if they invite you back to the camp, they're not recruiting you. You wouldn't, if somebody's of recruitable age. So again, we're talking what, June 15th after your sophomore year, then they can go ahead and come after you and actively recruit you. And if that happens, they want you. If that's not happening, they don't want you. And that wish and that, oh, I really want to go to school here, I'll go to another camp. Oh, I really want to go, I'll go to another one. And I'll do it again. And I'll do it. And pretty soon you've spent, you know, $1,500 going to that camp 4 or 5 times, and nobody wants you because you're not what they're looking for. And reading between the lines and understanding what's going on is important if players don't want to waste time and money.
I've seen that situation happen so much, and it just breaks my heart. Like a player will go to an ID camp for a school, and then there's either kind of like vague feedback and not like a commitment, hey, you should play for our program, or it's just silence, crickets chirping, and no follow up. And then the player's like, well, I'm just going to go back to that same campus and do another ID camp with the hopes of them seeing me and getting exposed again, and maybe they'll take me on this second time. And at that point I'm like, oh, I don't know, that's kind of a waste of time. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, and if an eighth grader goes to a camp, I don't know. Let's say player goes to a camp in eighth grade, and then nobody can talk to them, and then in ninth grade they've gotten better, and they go back, and still nobody can talk to them. I still don't have a problem with this. My son went to Sonoma State. He ended up getting recruited by them, but he went to the Sonoma State camp probably with Franz Hook when he was there as a showing up to do goalkeeper coaches, but he was probably on that campus 4 times before he got his offer to play for them, including one more invite only trial day. Um, that they can do at the Division II level. Got to play with their players in the spring. So it probably took seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, probably 6 times before they actually made the offer. Um, so I'm not saying that I don't want to be hypocritical and say you should never do that, but you have to know that it's marching along the correct direction. And there should be conversations with the coaching staff along the way that completely are upfront and honest with you. And it's like, yeah, you're going the direction that we want you to go. We want to see you again. But he wasn't going to, 3 camps a year, and he wasn't, he wasn't trying to chase something that wasn't there. So yeah, you can do it multiple times. And if you start it young enough, you can get that coach to know you and to track your progress along the way. And, but that coach is also typically coming out and seeing your club matches also. And then they're investing in you as much as you're investing in them. If it's a one-way investment, then it's probably going nowhere. But if it's a two-way, getting to know you, and they're investing time in you and you're investing time in them, and the communications and the interactions are clearly two-way, that's a different scenario.